Forget the Illuminati. Forget the Skull and Bones Society. I'm here today to reveal to you the number one thing they don't want you to know. Wealth is just having too much of something. Let that one swim around your head for a second. Take as long as you need. I'll be right back. What is he talking about? Is he crazy? If you print enough Deutschmarks, Deutschmarks become useless. If you have a huge supply of, say, lumber, Bill Gates has so much money that if his dollars were actually a stockpile of lumber, it would go higher than up to the moon, right? But if someone only had one board, right? You steal that guy's one board. He's like, oh no, my one board. You steal a board from Bill Gates, he won't even know you took it. Because the amount of money Bill Gates has is so much that a single dollar doesn't even mean anything to him, even though his wealth is made of nothing but dollars. I assume it's made of nothing but dollars. He may have other assets, of course. But for the purpose of the metaphor, even the richest person in the world, the more riches they have, the less amount the individual riches are worth. See, the more and more you have of something, the lower the personal value of each unit of that thing. So, wealth is just having too much of something. The more of their currency a particular country has, like when Germany printed a whole bunch of Deutschmarks to try and pay off the UN or whoever it was, well, it drove down the value of the Deutschmark the more Deutschmarks they printed, right? Which is like the German dollar or whatever. It's their version of a dollar, money. It's their currency, right? Well, same thing with, I live in Canada. If we printed billions and billions of Canadian dollars, well, it would drive down the value of the Canadian dollar. Why? Because having more of it makes it more common, makes it less rare, makes it less special, and then it's not worth as much anymore. Right? So if you think about it, a country who had just one coin, right? That would be the most expensive coin ever. If it was their only unit of currency, it would be worth a whole lot, just that one coin. It would be worth the whole country's resources, basically. But what does that mean then? Does that mean that being the wealthiest of all countries is to have no currency, right? If you have 0 coins, $0 in your current, I mean it is a current, that's why they call it currency. If you have $0 in your what's the name for that? There's a word for it. Circulation. In your legal tender, that's what I was trying to say. Then you have no money, but your money's worth is infinite. It's inverted, right? The more you have of something, the less it's worth. Now, if there's just one of them, then it's super rare, and it's worth something huge, right? There's people that were destroying all the copies of Conker's Bad Fur Day, which is a video game, a really good video game. They were destroying all the copies of it just so that they would have the only copy, so that it would be even more rare, so it would be worth even more. I mean, it's a slippery slope, because you still don't want to just be counterintuitive and contradict the whole system, right? You might not want to be actually wealthy. It might actually be a bad thing for you. But that doesn't mean you want to give up everything you have, all your possessions and all your food and all your resources either, right? And it definitely doesn't mean we want to balance out and go to the middle of everything and just have a neutral amount of everything. No. Minimalism is nice, it is, but I think the key is having your fair share of everything, right? Because then there's enough for all of us. There's more than enough for all of us. If everybody and everything gets their fair share of what they deserve, then we'll never run out of resources. We'll always have something. But we made it into a race, into a competition where we're trying to beat each other, right? Beat each other at fucking getting resources and getting the things we need, right? But what is the value of wealth, right? Well, the more wealthier you are, the more the value of your stuff goes down. I'm sure there's a sweet spot somewhere. I'm sure it's right about at your fair share, you know? Because if you get even just a little bit too much, look at me. I'm fat. Look how fat I am. Now you might say, well, you're not that fat. Well, I might not be overly fat. But I actually am like 340 pounds. I am fat. Why? Because I probably eat more than my fair share of food. Or at least if I am eating exactly my fair share of food, which I feel like I am most of the time. I try not to overeat. I try to just eat when I'm hungry. But maybe I'm not doing my fair share of work or effort, right? Maybe I'm sitting around too much. Or maybe I'm just plain not getting my fair share of exercise. You see where this is going? Everything's building around having your fair share, even when it's a whole different unit of currency, right? So, I guess that's what I'm really saying, is nature was always designed for everybody to get their fair share. Or I say designed, it may have been designed, it may not. It had to get here somehow, though, so it probably was designed in some way. But regardless, it has sustained itself up to this point. And it's pretty solidly centered around everything getting its fair share of stuff. So then industrialization came, and it was impossible to glean a lot more from nature than it would normally offer us, because we became efficient. But then we became not efficient. We became wealthy. See, efficient means you're getting the greatest amount of reward while using up the least amount of resource. But we're using up a resource. Happiness, joy, love, tenderness, kindness, everything that you folks refer to as positivity, that is the resource we're running out of. That's what we're using up. That's what nobody gets their fair share of anymore. Compassion. Nobody gets their fair share of caring anymore. Why? Because everybody's trying to get their fair share, or more than their fair share, of resources. I'll tell you what they don't want you to know. Forget the Illuminati. Forget the Skull and Bones Society. What they don't want you to know is that wealth is just having too much of something.